Hello lights and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. I don't put aside all of my other videos so that I can go ahead and get this video out because it was requested that for part two too many times by too many likes. So here I am with part two. Okay, let me get right into first saying if you haven't seen part one, please go watch part one too. My son was murdered because this is part two. And I'm just going to go ahead and start where I left off in part one. Now, keep in mind again that I was 19 years old when everything that happened to me in part one. Okay? Now, so at the end, I told you that my mother came to the hospital, and when I woke up, she was basically sitting there and she was holding my hand. And I was not that happy to exactly see her. As a matter of fact, I didn't even want to hear anything that she really had to say. I just wanted her to be able to take care of my daughter while I was in the hospital. And once I got out the hospital, I had planned on picking up my daughter, and basically that would be it. I didn't really have no plans on having anything to do with my mom at the time. I was really sad. I was really angry. I was really confused. And and trying to fix my relationship with my mother at that time was not first on my mind anymore. Okay. So she told me, she says, okay, you've been in this hospital too long. Okay. You're strong. You can handle what happened to you. She said, I need you to get out of this bed because you have a daughter that needs you. Okay. And you have a husband that is suffering just as much as you are. Now, at that moment, I was thinking to myself, does she realize what happened to me? What I've been through? I was hurt that this man, one, put his hands on me. Two, he was cheating. Three, we lost our son because of his bad behavior. So for her to tell me that, oh, you have a husband, I was thinking to myself, oh, I'm done with her. Like, don't say nothing else to me. Get out my face. I don't want to talk to you. But you know what? What stopped me from telling my mother off at the time? My mouth was wide shut. I had wires all up in my mouth. My face was swelling. And I, in my opinion, I didn't look like the same person. So she said to me, she says, I'm going to take you home. I'm signing you out of this hospital and I'm going to take you home. Now, at the time, when she came to the hospital, I did not know, like I knew that I've been through a lot. I had found out that the hospital wanted to give me a blood transfusion, and my mom would not sign off on it. At the time, I guess they needed another family member, someone. So at the time, my mom, I did not know that I needed a blood transfusion, and that is one of the reasons why I stayed in the hospital so long, is because at the time the AIDS epidemic was going on, and my mom was not comfortable with signing for me to get a blood transfusion. I had found out that my mom had been coming to the hospital quite often as long as I was in there, and I guess that she was just fed up, so she just decided that she would talk to me because she knew, my mom knew that I was definitely still hurt and upset by her. So just as much as I didn't want to talk to her, I'm sure my mother wasn't ready to talk to me as well. But, you know, she did show up when I needed her probably the most in my life at that time. So she told me, she says, listen, you're strong. You can do this, okay? And I just basically, to, I couldn't tell her off. I couldn't really tell her how I felt. I just was laying there, and at the time, I was not crying. I was not like filled with tears. I was just ghost like. I was just like lost, lost in my soul. Like that just felt like somebody ripped my spirit from me. And that's how I felt at the time. And my mom said to me, you have a daughter that needs you. You've got to get up this bed. And then she said to me, your son hasn't even been buried. And I remember at that moment, I was looking at her like, what? She said, you have to give your son a funeral. And that didn't even come to my mind. I don't even remember anyone saying to me that I needed to bury my son. And she said, I'm going to make all the arrangements. All I need you to do is get out this bed so that you can go to your son's funeral. At the time, I didn't think that I would be strong enough to do something like that. And I remember my mom basically, I remember going home with my mom from the hospital, and I remember her talking to me. Everything was so echoey, like I couldn't grasp a full sentence or conversation. And all I remember is she showed me a dress, and it was pretty. It was a all black dress with a cream like shawl on the top of it, and it had like little triangles cut into it with tiny, tiny little beads all in each of the triangles. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, that dress is really pretty. She said, this is one of my best dress, and this is the dress you're going to wear to the funeral. And I remember my mom brushing my hair, putting my hair in a ponytail. I remember her helping me get my shoes on and helping me put the dress on. I was so dazed out. I seemed to couldn't grasp back on to reality. And I remember going to the funeral, and it was so many people there. It was old friends, new friends, some family members. And in my mind, I literally was thinking, who comes to a funeral of a baby? A baby that only lived a few hours. That's what I was thinking. It just wasn't hitting me in my mind that you give a funeral for a baby that did not make it, no longer than a day. But it was a lot of people there. Now, my mom, she carried on the conversation. She did all the talking. She was there for me. Sorry, you guys, I live in Houston. And she told me, she says, let's go up to the casket. You can say your goodbyes. And the casket, you guys, was no bigger than this. It was this small. And it was white. It had blue lining inside of it. When I got up to the casket, my son was laying there like He was so tiny, but he looked like a little man, you know. And my mom, I don't know how she did it, but he didn't have on. I'm not gonna do it. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. He didn't. There you go. I'm so sorry. Okay. Okay. I gotta get through this story. This is part two, and part two is it's not like part one. I could get through this story. Okay. Okay. My son had on a looked like a tux, had a little tiny blue tie on with a black vest, and then the blanket was kind of coming over him a little. And all you could see, you couldn't really see his shoulders or anything. You just could see like this vest. I asked my mom how was they able to get the baby clothes on by him being so small, and she told me that they just laid the clothes on him, and they manipulated it to make it look like he was basically wearing a suit. So he looked beautiful, you know, and he was darker than he was when he was born, but he basically still had his features intact. And once I saw him, I just kind of stood at the casket, you know, for a long time. This was like, and I know people were waiting to come up to the casket, but I was just standing there, and I felt like if I could wish all of this away, wish whatever had happened away, and just go back. I just wish. That's how I felt. I was just standing there wishing that I could have changed something. And while I was standing there, I saw some hands on the side of me, just kind of like standing, just hands. That's all I saw. And I looked down. I almost freaked out. It was my husband. He was standing there. He was at the funeral. He was up at the casket with me. After the funeral, we had to bury our son at a gravesite. So we buried our son in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And at the gravesite is when more of his family showed up. And, you know, a lot of his family felt bad for what had happened between me and him. And his sister talked to me. My mom was in my ear. His sister was in my ear, and he basically was a sad puppy. So that's basically what happened, you know, after the funeral. Now, at the funeral, I did not cry, you know. I didn't shed no tears. I was just spaced out. I'm gonna say that. That's the only word I can basically describe the way I was. And I remember my mom coming up to the casket and telling me, it's okay, it's okay, as if it's okay that he's there. Now, let me tell you, he fell out. He cried. He went through the motions. He couldn't pull himself together at the funeral. After the funeral was over with, I was able to basically go back to my mom's house, and she helped me basically try to come back around to myself. And she talked to me, and I'm gonna tell you guys, I set up a meeting. Well, actually, my mom set up a meeting between me and my husband for us to talk. Now, when he came to see me, he said to me, he apologized, and he was so sorry that that happened, and that while I was in the hospital, a lot of things had happened. He had got in some trouble. he just wanted to start over fresh, and maybe we should move from New Jersey, and he has family in North Carolina, so let's move down there and start our life over. And at the time, I just felt like I lost my baby and kind of lost myself, that maybe I could find a way to forgive him, and maybe this will never happen again. Now, we both talked and we agreed that we would not have children. We decided that we would no longer have children with each other because that's just something I never wanted to experience again, you know? And it was so crazy because I still was kind of battling, like, am I going to forgive him and really go to North Carolina with him? Or am I going to just maybe move from where we lived at and maybe start a new life for myself and my daughter? You know, our son was so freshly in the ground. I didn't know which direction I was going to go. So one day went to my mother's house. I wanted to talk to her and just let her know uh, what was going on and what was going to be my decision with my husband if I was going to go ahead and try to start over with him. When I got there, all of my sisters were there. They were eating and of that nature. And I asked my mom, can I talk to her? I didn't want to talk to my sisters. I didn't want to talk to friends. I just kind of was just kind of communicating with my mom to see what did she think about, you know, the situation. I told her that he definitely wanted to move to North Carolina, and I'm thinking about considering going. My sisters were basically in, around being nosy in the situation. So uh, I guess one of my sisters, which is the one next to me, she basically was going off on me, telling me that don't have nothing to do with him. He's no good. Why would you leave you and your daughter go with him to North Carolina? The next time he could kill you. Basically, that's how me and my sister got into an argument. And I basically was just like telling her, mind your business, don't say nothing to me, don't talk to me. And then she was in my face. She was like really cursing me out because I was making a decision to maybe forgive my husband and maybe see what happens. And I remember my sister being so close in my face. I told her, I said, I'm gonna tell you something. You can say whatever you want to me. You can call me all kinds of names, but what you better not do while you in my face is have one speck of spit come out your mouth, because then I'm going to kill you. And she was still yelling, talking junk, jumping around me, all in my face like this. You stupid, you this, you that, you this, you that. And then next thing you know, a speck of spit came out her mouth. I blacked out. I didn't know what happened. My mom told me I tried to kill my sister. My sister said, she was like, I was drowsy. I was like all drowsy and everything, trying to pull myself together. I was on the floor, okay? And I think my sister was like, I can't believe you tried to kill me. You tried to kill me. And I'm going to tell you, I asked my mom, I said, what happened? I think I blacked out because she spit on me. My mom said, no, you blacked out because she said, that's why your baby dead. That's why your baby dead. She kept singing it. And my mom said I blacked out and I tried to kill her. I don't remember, but I'm going to tell you something. Every chance I get that I'm with my sister, she'll remind me that I tried to kill her, okay? She go into detail, say what I did to her. She tell everybody I tried to kill her. She tell every single body that I tried to kill her, okay? And she tell them in detail. But anyway, decided, you know what, man, forget this. I'm tired of this. We need a fresh start. I went to North Carolina with him. Yeah, I did. I did. I did. I did. I went to North Carolina with him. And when we got to North Carolina, we got a nice little home. It was by a small river that had catfish in it, and he loved to catfish. You know, he loved to go fishing. And I met his family, I met his friends, and I got me a job in North Carolina. Matter of fact, we lived in um, Whitehurst and Pill, Tarboro, North Carolina. That's where I lived at. Okay. I met friends. I ended up meeting one of my best friends in my adult life in North Carolina. Now, her name was Stephanie. She had 5 kids, you guys. 5 kids. Like, I was still 19 and she had 5 kids. And she was younger than I was, okay? And she had 5 kids. And it was crazy, but she was so cool, even though she had so many kids. I enjoyed my time with her. I enjoyed going to her house when she cooked. I enjoyed hanging out with her and her kids when they doing like the cookouts and hanging out with friends. She took me around friends. She took me to party. She was there. She kept me company when my husband. When you move to North Carolina with someone and they got family and you don't, it kind of get a little lonely and kind of awkward. So me meeting one of my best friends was like fabulous. Oh my God. It was like she brought out the sun in my life. And she really liked it, my husband. When we got to North Carolina, we did not talk about what happened because I didn't want no bias. I didn't want, her to feel some type of way against my husband. I never told her what I'd been through with him. She just felt like we had like this perfect relationship because when we were around people, he would hug me, he would kiss me, he would treat me nice, and then I would just kind of let him do it. But then when we weren't around people, I stayed to myself and he stayed away from me, basically. And that's how our relationship was. Me and my best friend, we were really, really close. Like when she needed me, I was there for her. When I needed her, she was there for me. Like I can honestly say she was there for me, okay? And I noticed that one day I was at work. No, one day I was at work and my best friend called me and she said, "Hey, uh, I went to your house and I think this girl that's living in the area that y'all live in was inside of your house." And I said, "Huh?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "I think your husband's might be cheating on you." So now I'm kind of getting upset, because she's telling me that she went to my house and this is what she saw. So I did. I confronted him and asked him, was he seeing somebody? Was somebody in the housing that we live in the area that we live in is visiting him? Is he starting back his mess? Because if he is, I need to know. That's how I felt. We were already on eggshells. I was at work one day. Stephanie came up to my job and she was like, "Hey, do you want to go hang out?" And I was like, "No, I'm not really comfortable with hanging out. I'm just gonna and as a matter of fact, she watched my daughter when I worked, and when she had something to do, I watched her kids. She didn't work, but I did. And I said, "No, I'm just gonna pick up my baby and I'm just gonna go home because I don't want no mess." Now I was like, I was on guard. My heart was on guard, my mind was on guard. Like if he start his mess again, I'm gonna have to figure this out. Okay. And she went hanging out with friends. But I noticed that when I got home, he wasn't there. And it was pouring down raining. Sound like fresh memories. It was pouring down raining. He didn't come home. But in my heart, I was thinking, I was kind of trying not to be that person who's looking for an excuse that you mess up. That's it. I'm done with you. I'm gone. Well, I was there. I was thinking that if I find out he's cheating, I'm looking for an excuse for him to be cheating. I'm just going to be leaving. I gave this a second chance. It didn't work. I'm going to be leaving. And I noticed Okay, so the next day he comes home and he talks to me and everything. He tells me that he didn't come home because he was in another city where his family lived at, and uh, and I didn't even mention that. Let me tell you. He said he needed to get a ride home. The reason why he needed to get a ride home because when I was in the hospital, he so-called lost his car. So he didn't have a car anymore. So he said to me he was waiting for family, somebody to give him a ride home. Okay, and at the time we didn't have a phone yet. You only could contact me at work. Uh, so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that sound reasonable. He might be telling the truth about that. So then I was telling Stephanie about what he told me, and I noticed that she was just getting really pissed off. She was getting really upset, and then she got to the point where, uh, when they would see each other, they didn't like each other no more. It was always like a huge argument between them two. And I told Stephanie, I said, look, Stephanie, when you see him, don't say nothing to him. Don't look at him. Don't pay him no mind. And then I told him, when you see Stephanie, don't say nothing to her. Don't look at her. But she's my friend. I love her as my friend. And I don't want y'all fighting. I went to work one day and uh when I went to get ready for work one day, I went outside and my car didn't get started. And in North Carolina, you know, the blocks are like long, okay? So that means that I was gonna have to start trucking it, that walking. So uh I called Stephanie. Uh I went next door and I asked the neighbor, can I use their phone? And I contact Stephanie. And I said, Stephanie, hey, could you come get me? My car not working. And she was like, no, but I ain't gonna be able to do it today because I'm going down to Rocky Mount and I'm gonna go see my mom. And I was like, dang. So then I called a couple of friends that I had met since I've been out there, and everybody was telling me, no, I'm not gonna be able to help you out. So I called my job and I told them that I didn't have a babysitter. My babysitter wasn't coming to get my daughter, and my car wasn't working. And I was told that if I didn't make it into work, I wasn't going to have a job. So I called one of the girls that I work with, and she told me, she says, well, I live 3 miles from you. If you make it to my house, then I'll watch your daughter for you. And then you only got like a mile and a half to make it to your job. Now, okay, that sounds like small numbers, right? I felt like I was in the desert walking the North Carolina road, okay? I'm laughing because I remember taking a shower and doing my hair. I looked like I needed help when I got to my friend's house. It was just it was a terrible situation, and I had to end up trying to freshen up to try to make that next mile and a half to make it. I'm gonna tell you guys where I actually worked at. I don't know if you ever heard of a hamburger place called Checkers. I worked at Checkers down. It was called Checkers in North Carolina. That's where I worked at. Oh my God. I made it up there. I made it to the place and I worked that day. My manager was like, hey, you know what? I'll give you, I told her the situation, whatever happened. She said, I'll give you a ride home. And I said, oh, okay. And she said, proceeded to we went to go pick up my daughter and she gave me a ride home. I get home. I see a white car in my driveway. So, hmm. And guess who drove a white car? My friend Stephanie. I said, I wonder why Stephanie here. Why she in my place? Why didn't she come get me from work? Why didn't she contact me at work and let me know she was going to come to my house so I can say, Stephanie, I'm still at work. Come get me. I gets up to the door and basically put my key in the door and I can't get in. So I'm shaking on the door, and I'm knocking, like, hey, hey? I start calling both their names, right? And I couldn't get in the door. So now I go down to the bottom of the steps of where we lived at. We had like three little steps. Okay, go to the bottom of the steps, and I'm looking around, I'm walking around to the windows. I'm looking in the windows and everything, and I'm like, Tassan, open up this freaking door, open up the door. I'm yelling, I'm screaming, and then my manager, she gets out the car. So my manager gets out the car and she's like, what's going on? Like, I don't know what's going on. It's Stephanie's car here, and I can't even get my key. I feel it in the moving, but the door won't open, you know? And she was like, well, just calm down, because you really like you really tripping, you know? And see, she didn't know what I've been through. So y'all can imagine my mindset, my mind went there. My mind went there because I was thinking to myself, my friend, my best friend, told me she couldn't take me to work. She couldn't come get me. She couldn't look out for me. I walked 4.5 freaking miles that day. Okay. And then her car parked at my house. Okay. My mind went there. Okay. Now, we did have a back door. Okay. So I goes around to the back door, and I noticed when I get back there, the back door is wide open. And I walks in the house. Stephanie not there. Tassan not there. Ain't nobody there. You know? So, so I start walking around the place asking anybody, have they seen my best friend? Have they seen my husband? Or whatever. So then I asked my manager, you know what? Take me to Stephanie's house. Let me find out what's going on, because she's not here, but her car is here. She takes me to Stephanie's house. And guess what? Stephanie was home. So now I want to find out, why was her car at my house, and what was going on. So I'm going to leave the story right there. But I want to thank you guys for watching, and hopefully it doesn't take me too long to come back with part 3. Okay, and in part 3 I will let you know what happened with my conversation with Stephanie, where was my husband, what was going on, and then I will tell you the rest of the story from there.